Look, you gotta be able to do it. Like the lips have to push out. You
Like
can't just stretch them.
simultaneously.
They have to like.
There you go. They all have Botox.
Yeah, but it's like hot. Yeah, they do have Botox, but it's like hot dog lip.
Hey everybody, I'm Sean Robinson.
I'm Carson Grubaugh. Welcome to Living the Line, Sean. We're looking at a book that you brought to my attention during a previous review. So tell us about this book.
Yeah, so Makoto Kobayashi is a very interesting cartoonist. He has done a series that I think a lot of people are familiar with, What's Michael, which was wildly successful in Japan and was one of the first manga series directly released to books in the United States. And
Mm.
Eclipse put out 2 volumes of it and then promptly folded the line. And then years later, it was resurrected in a Dark Horse publication called Super Manga Blast. And this is one of those titles where it was translated by Studio Proteus. Um, Dana Dana Lewis and Torrin Smith, I believe, worked on that and this new title. And Torrin Smith, who was the owner of Studio Proteus, was just an enthusiast of Kobayashi and just basically thought, hey, this guy's a comedic genius. I want to make his stuff work. And so they kept on pushing it. And finally, after a long time being available, What's Michael finally took off like a decade later in the like library and bookstore and trade market, because
Hmm.
obviously it's a brilliant comic about cats.
Yeah,
Well, Kobayashi has also made a brilliant comic about hostesses.
about
Uh,
young women.
right, exactly. And this one, if you are a stickler for things being finished in English release, you're going to be dissatisfied because um, it would be very difficult for you to track down the entire thing. There were
Mm.
3 volumes released collected, and the 4th volume was only available in Super Manga Blast. So you're gonna have to get a bunch of back issues and things like that. But we are gonna push on despite that and take a look at Volume 1 today.
Because I'm sure I can find scanlations of it and finish the series nonetheless. Let's take a look at it though.
Yeah. So Carson, did you have any idea what you were getting into with this?
No, I had this showed up in my mailbox, and I thought, oh, thank you, Sean. This is awesome. Because I know we had just talked about it, but I really had no idea what I was getting into. And as it unfold, I just let it unfold, right? I didn't read the text on the back or anything. So I just jumped in. And I'll have to say, I've been reading so much manga lately that I'm so familiar with the right to left that
Oh,
I started trying to read this backwards, and I was like, oh, no, 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 this one I have to actually read like a English book because it's the old
right.
Dark Horse versions. So that was fun. Um, anyways, it's a totally wild book. His faces are just crazy.
So Haruo, I think is how you'd say her name, is a just graduated high school. Her boyfriend, her high school boyfriend, uh, led as a pitcher, led their team to the Koshien, and they won Koshien, and so he's expecting to be recruited as a professional ball player, and you get to look at his face there as he's rejected and rejected and rejected round by round by round. Um, and so he ends up deciding that he's going to stay on the farm and he's going to develop their farm. And his girlfriend is going to go to the city and she's going to get her education. And when she comes back, she has promised him she's going to have an education, she's going to be able to make money, she's going to still be a virgin, and they can get married.
Yeah,
Uh,
good luck.
and right. We get a lot about her and these kind of, you know, some really quite compact writing. And she's a klutz, which is basically a prerequisite for being a heroine of a certain kind of story. But because this is Kobayashi, he takes it a little further, and so she's like falling into septic tanks.
Yeah, like here, and just the art on that right there, that shot is gorgeous. And then combine that with her as like this innocent, kind of almost like moon-faced simpleton, but who's
Mhm.
still really charming and actually smart, has just grown up in the country. Yeah, she becomes very quickly a very sympathetic and charming character. Especially because they do this weird, like, it's so strange. The translation is strange because they do like this redneck dialect to show
Mhm.
that these are farm people, but in the translation, it's so strange to see, obviously, Japanese characters being like, "Golly, look at them snowflakes, bigger than goose feathers. I just love snow, so clean and pure and virgin white." It's just so weird.
I love that sound effect, gablorsh. That's just beautiful. Yeah,
It's a strange combination. It's a strange experience, strange combination of things.
I was wondering if this was, obviously another thing that would never be translated that way today, to our detriment because it reads so well. It sets her off perfectly from the people that she's going to meet in this quote unquote sophisticated city.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here, everybody's concerned about her, but also they smell. She smells like shit from falling into a septic tank.
Yeah. And Michael shows up.
Right. That's great. So her boyfriend's like making a concerned face while having his nose pinched. I
Yeah.
I just love
Like, I
that.
love you, but
Yeah.
and then like she jumps up to get this clothes, and this is some of that just like naive simpleton. She's just not even thinking about the fact that she's got no clothes on,
Right.
and all the dudes are freaking out like, "Oh my god, we saw her boobs." I like that she's a little thicker too.
Uh huh.
Like, she's attractive, but he draws her thick.
Hmm.
She's got like a bit of a chubby face, and she's got like some thickness on her arms. um and I think that makes her more appealing and realistic as well
I think
as the kind of dialect.
his cartooning is unbelievable. I mean, just the fact that he can make everybody so rubbery, uh, it's really quite amazing.
Well, and it's the hot dog bun lip faces that drive me crazy. Like, they're so good and so expressive, but they're so ugly to look at. But the rest of his drawing is so clean and so pretty, and so, I mean, like, realistic.
Hmm.
Like, the rest of that figure
Right.
is so well done, and the face is just so, same here. The face is crazy.
Not a lot of people that can mine that space. I think we of all the cartoonists we've talked about on this channel, I think the only person who really comes close to that sort of combination would be I'm sorry, Mr. Monben himself.
Oh, Urasawa.
Yeah.
But his
Uh,
stuff doesn't get quite as realistic. The backgrounds do, but the figures don't have that same
hmm,
realism. The closest I can think of is Stan Drake with his really wild
there you go.
expressions being totally realistic, but they're not as exaggerated or
Hmm.
distorted as this. Like, he maintains, like, what's this artist, Kobayashi, maintains like realistic proportions everywhere else, but then the faces are exaggerated.
Right.
Stan Drake would have realistic proportion face, just an extreme
Right.
kind of expression on it. But this this sequence right here is such a perfect example of his cartooning ability. um because, like, mom is just, she's got Madonna stuck in her head, and the scene of this irritated, grumpy old dad being like, "Now listen, when you're off in the big city, you need to be careful, a lady like yourself." And then mom's in the background like a virgin, and like her expression here as she's like pata 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 pata, like banging the drums on his head, and her moving across, and the hand, it's
Right.
just,
While he's totally stationary, the father is completely stationary.
and the camera pans on this one
Right.
to follow her, which it makes it even funnier. somehow. I just those 4 panels are, if you want to know how good Kobayashi is, there you go. And then obviously has background assistants that
Yeah.
are very good.
And integrate very well with his style, including
Yeah.
using a heavy brush.
I like this what's
Appropriate.
bear, like
Yeah.
there's a, and then so within this story there is a Makoto Kobayashi, so it's the
Right.
just off by 1 letter, and he draws a manga named What's Bear instead of What's Michael. It's about a dog, and she's a huge fan of this book, and
Right.
that provides for some very strange scenes later on, I think.
And so her boyfriend has, written her a message with his tractor as she's flying away from the regional airport.
Yeah, and it looks like crop circles almost, like
Right.
this right here. That's what's happening. That's what crop circles are. We've solved it. It's really just Japanese guys communicating with their girlfriends who are going to the big city.
Right.
I don't know why they're doing it in America's farms, but here I did write your Drake is showing. Like and it's not just the way he deals with the realistic, but like really fluid characters. He has this like parallel hatching right here too,
Mm.
where the lines come out like to represent fabric. It'll be 1 line and then a couple parallel marks on the side of it. And this whole drawing right here is very Stan Drake in the rendering as well. And the breast and the like little kind of jiggle on it and everything, I feel like is very, I don't know if he was looking at Stan Drake or not, but he has those same cartooning plus ability to render very realistically chops that Drake has, and
Right.
some of the actual particular rendering techniques as well. But this like ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. So good. And again, she's thick. She's not like a
Yeah.
twig.
Now, everybody has differently shaped bodies throughout the whole thing. She's going to, as we're going to see eventually through this volume, she's going to meet her friend is a hostess at a club. So her friend knows the hostess walk, which she's going to learn herself. But yeah, she's living in like a rundown apartment that she's not happy with for various reasons we're about to find out. And it turns out that people in her social circle work at this club. And yeah, so she's taking a bath here.
Well, even here, like this is a realistic female, like healthy female body, but it's not distorted. And so I find her more attractive because of that. Like all of this, it's sexy, but it's not the typical exaggerated figure.
Mm-hmm. So she hears these sounds, and it turns out that her room is inhabited by a ghost who is a virgin.
Yeah. And is very interested in her from a sexual standpoint.
And this first scene, she's totally freaked out by the fact that, there's a dead guy who wants to do it with her in her apartment. I saw
this
it.
hair place really do got a ghost.
I saw it. I swear I saw it.
It's such a wild book. And then she comes out here and she's like, he jerks off. He pulls his pud. So like, imagine you're haunted and the fucking ghost shows up by your bedside and is just wanking one out.
And that's the reason that he can't leave Earth. Like that's his his unresolved business.
He needs to get laid. And then look at her lip on the cry. I hate the way he draws these hot dog lips, but they work.
It's great.
It's just hot dog bun lips. They're so gross looking. 100% works. It's just gross.
Yeah. So her friend is getting ready for her hostess work.
That pose. He must have been using photo reference.
Yeah, a lot of this has got to be. I don't know what type of shoot you do, but yeah.
It looks to me like he's using photo reference with the bodies and then applying style to the faces. But some of the poses and the way the clothes sits and like the way her knees are going and stuff, it just feels he's either using some kind of photo, like this whole pose here looks reference to me. If that's coming out of his head, then I'm just I envy that. And then this scene here where you're talking about she's learning the showgirl walk, and then them coming down the street all synchronized, bada boom ba boom, and then flipping their hair. But it all looks so natural,
Right.
especially the way the clothes reacts. I don't know. I love that scene.
There's another comic, from this slightly later than this. I believe this was the mid '90s, and but there was this social phenomenon known as the co-girls. This idea of like young girls who like used their power in different ways or whatever. But that a lot of the stuff written about it is just so negative. One of the things that's really refreshing about this is it's just so positive. Like everything about it is like, this is just the thing that they're doing. You know what I mean? It's not like manipulation. Well, we'll see it when we get into the club, but
And just the this scene too, like she's in the city looking for the club, and she's getting overwhelmed by the bigness of the city. And
right.
I think he handles that really, really well, just like letting the city become a character with these big shots like that. And then really, really just starting to get these more claustrophobic panels throughout, tilting into 3-point perspective to make it look like more looming and ominous. Like I think this scene, not just from a cartooning standpoint, but just from like a structural pacing, knowing when to like really lean into the detailed backgrounds, when to have like 1-point and 3-point. I think that's just all handled phenomenally well. And then we get into the club.
Right. So she meets Mama, who is, contrary to what she thinks, not the mother of her friend, but the host, who is the exact same age as her actual mother, as in they're both going to turn 40 in a week. So this is actually the same distressing thing that her actual mom, is going through. And so this woman is like, runs the club, but also sees herself as like a peer to the girls that work for her, even though the girls are half her age. And it's also a well observed detail there, how that sort of like pseudo peer dynamic can develop among a group of people.
Yeah. And look at this expression, same face, just
Yep.
manipulating it. So good. And she seems to think, if I remember correct, that this lady kind of looks like her mother too.
Right.
Like she reminds her of her. And then here you get the makeover.
Right. She gets the dress because she's basically wearing her normal clothes. She gets the dress from the mama, who her expression is basically like she's distressed because of how good it looks on her, and realizing that like, oh, my time for wearing this dress is done.
Like right here, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. 40, wah. Mama, this is no time to cry. We're busy, 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 remember? And she's just sitting there like as sexy as she can be, but still like, huh? And then I love this also, this whole page of just faces staring at you. Like you're this country bumpkin. You've been put in this, you're trying to maintain purity and be a virgin. You're naive, all of this stuff. You're in the big city. They slap you in this sexy dress, and then you're brought into this room where it's like attention.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And every one of those faces having a totally different reaction. And some of them like obviously ogling her, some of them like curious, some of them openly hostile or sympathetic. It's just, it's quite an amazing array.
And likeness, like
Mhm.
100% recognizably different characters on each one of these
The
faces.
mind boggles. I mean, really, truly boggles. Like how. I mean,
Well, the amount of time that I mean, obviously he's probably got a studio going in and doing all of this kind of stuff, but the mental kind of effort to come up with that many unique characters that are entirely throwaway.
yeah.
But also, like, I'm pretty sure you have this character, like these three here
Mhm.
are these, actually these four here are these four here. This girl here, that's this table.
Right.
So he uses them one more time as she's zooming in, and there are some of them show up through, but it's just like this is someone who really cares, like a
Yeah.
real, they're really in command of their craft and in command of just what the story needs.
Right. And what the story needs is a totally drunk, totally pervy Kanbayashi, uh, author's name, except one letter added, who's like fall down drunk and his like fake tooth keeps on popping out.
Who's now going to come have an interaction with what I assume is like his dream girl,
Right.
like a thick country bumpkin who's really charming. So this is where it gets really weird, extra weird for me. It's already a strange book, but the fact that he's like written himself in, and it's not just someone with his name, he's someone who's doing his own book, right? It's like the What's Bears, the What's Michael book. And so this is like that kind of strange death thing that Dave would talk about, where the artist is like trying to realize a real life fantasy through. That's what it seems like to me. Like
Interesting.
this is the original waifu.
See, I think he's such an unflattering, if it's an unflattering, self-deprecating self-portrait. Uh, you know,
Yeah,
he
but
gets his
why would like
mustache
why it's
caught on
funny, but
fire. Yeah, I think it's hilarious. I mean, I think it's like a wink. Like, if I was like talking shit about a YouTuber named Ron Robinson or something.
yeah. Yeah, but I still think there's some wish fulfillment to it. Like I bet this is a character that he's like, I wish I knew a girl like that, or he did know a girl like that or something. I don't know. Um, and then he goes on and he says, and that cute fellow is Louis Ono, the creator of the manga Lonely Boy. And so I wonder, like, if you or anyone in the audience knows who he's parodying, because I'm assuming it's a real life, like a
I,
buddy of his or something.
I would love to know. I don't. I gave it a lot of thought and couldn't come up with anything. I'm at the mercy of only reading English and a teeny bit of French. So, um, the this guy who Kambayashi is talking shit about and says couldn't draw worth a lick when he was with me, and all of a sudden he's got a million, a year.
He's driving a Porsche, and she's like, "Oh my god, I love it."
Well, but
Uh,
we should say she was similarly blown away by, What's Bear
yeah,
author being here and demanding, wanting to talk to him solely for that. But now she's getting caught up in the complex dynamic of wanting to light everyone's cigarettes simultaneously.
I really well because she's learned that that's what you're supposed to do, and it's like,
Right.
oh shit, I better like I got to do my job well. Um, but and then is constantly like in her naivete being sexy, like showing her panties and stuff. And they're same as earlier. She sat up with her shirt off and just
Right.
is really legitimately unaware that that's attractive, like anyone's interested in that, you know. And her laugh here, where it's
Yeah.
so inappropriately.
Gutsy. She got too much gusto to her
Yeah,
reaction.
but like she's really actually enjoying herself, and these city people have put on this facade of
Right.
cool, and she's like really enjoying it, and they're like, what in the hell is this? But also like everyone's kind of falling in love with her, I think. Like the
Th-
entire club is fascinated with her.
this is only one of two times that I've ever read a comic that made me laugh by the way that someone else's laugh was drawn. By the way,
This,
uh,
right?
so yeah, if you have cartooning goals, if you can make someone else laugh in sympathy by drawing someone laughing, I have only seen this twice.
What was the other instance?
It's in Guys, the Cerebus volume. I believe it's
Okay.
um, Mick laughing.
Okay. That makes
Uh,
sense.
it's like a 3-page laugh, but the build up to it and the like snort and the like try to contain yourself and then it happens again. You
Yeah.
know, that's a normal reaction in real life, right? But I just didn't realize you could elicit that reaction on paper. Like I feel like laughing just looking at it right now.
Well, this is another one of those instances in manga, and I think it probably why it worked in Cerebus too is because Dave is willing to do this. Even though I would say Club 9 is pretty compressed for a manga, it's not one of these like decompressed things. where
Right.
the laugh is like a whole chapter, which
Right.
I feel like you could get some of those. I also feel like very few American comics, I mean, more and more now that we're like with the serious graphic novels, but spending 2 pages to set that up of like the uproarious laughter, 4 panels of containment,
Right.
and then the explosion again. That's a lot of territory devoted to that.
Sure.
And you wouldn't get that in most American comics, I think. So I continue to appreciate that about manga.
Well, even
Um,
just we were talking about cartooning concerns. Even just drawing someone laughing is a challenge that lots of people wouldn't take on because it makes for a harder drawing. Someone's afraid of making someone look unattractive or goofy. Well, obviously, he has no such fear.
yeah, he's totally willing to make his characters look really, really ugly. But she still looks attractive in there too. It's just when an attractive person makes an ugly face, they're making
Right.
an ugly face, and he nails that. Like she's still attractive. She's just
Yeah.
a hot girl making a stupid face, which makes her more
Yeah.
attractive, right? That's the whole point of the character is like she's natural and loose and free. And this again, talking about like in Berserk, we talk about fluid dynamics.
Right.
This is like pack dynamics and fluid
Right.
dynamics of a pack. And it also reminded me of looking at the meta barons, how the nuns, it will be that
Mhm.
little clump of nuns that like moves together, or they move like the witches in Hocus Pocus, how they like
Oh, totally.
together. This has that same thing, but to that comedic effect of the group sway and the hair being flipped. This is the same moves from the other side of things, like from the front. Before in the previous sequence we saw them flip their hair from the front, now we get it all moving away from us instead of towards us, so I kind of like that repetition from the other camera angle.
Also, like the willingness to go flat like that and stagey when it's called for. Another thing that he does in What's Michael really, really well. So
Yeah,
here,
like here you have like a legit straight up photocopied
right.
photograph, and then you're talking about the fact that they're standing on the bottom and there's nothing
Mhm.
behind them, like the city drops out and stuff.
Yeah,
I'm
and the
assuming.
amount of foreshortening is reduced to the fact, to that effect as well. The only amount of anything being anything other than flat, it's just the fact that they overlap slightly.
Yeah, and the way they interact with the panels, like this character literally bunks into the, it's like the dynamics is they're headed this way and they hit the panel border and it like pushes them back that way.
Right.
So there's this sense of like bonk. And yeah, that's when you strip away all the stage setting and you're just interacting with the stage, you're just aware of the movement side to side more. Yeah, it's really effective. He's damn good. And then here we have the 8th chapter. I love this. The ghost is like Marilyn Monroeing her skirt.
But she's so sick of his shit by this point. She doesn't even care. She's just like totally ignoring him. She knows it's the last day. She's gonna have to put up with this pud pulling ghost.
Pud pulling ghost. And mom is losing her mind further, chasing dad around, beating on him. I think the mom is my favorite character, like the way he draws her. I don't know that I know anyone like that, but he does such a good job that I feel like I know someone like that, even though I
Right.
don't think I do. Ah. And then anyways, she
So
gets
she
rid of
goes
the
to the.
ghost.
So we get a effeminate stylist, of course, in the previous page, who's gleeful. Look at that expression on his face when she tells him, just basically make me look like a hostess.
Isn't this like Rick James? Who is that? That's a celebrity, that a singer that who is that?
That might be gay Rick James. Yeah, that's
I think that's Rick James. I'm Rick James, bitch. Like I'm pretty sure there's some singer that looks like. Pretty sure that's Rick James. I don't know. I'll have to
she
go back to that.
she goes out in her new hair and her address, and you know the police are very aware of her walking by.
Yeah, but also she's still that same accident prone farm girl, even though she's now this like sexy, confident city girl, which keeps her charming. Also, love this composition.
Yeah,
Like the
amazing.
strangeness of like just the tiniest bit of heel up here, big negative spaces. Like if you saw this in silhouette, you would have
Yeah,
no idea what it is. It's just completely abstracted out, but within the context, you know exactly what's going on. And he gets that upskirt shot, you know, which is titillating, and then you get that. So, yeah, I love this book. I'm gonna have to scramble to get the rest of them.
yeah. Well, do it before do it before we air this episode,
Yeah,
because I don't think there's a ton of them out there. Um, that that I have volume 1 and volume 2. Like I said, they printed a volume 3, but volume 4 you can only get in the Super Manga Blast. Yeah, and a little blast from the past here in the ads. You can see the other stuff that was happening at the same time. You
yeah.
know, Oh My Goddess, Gunsmith Cats. They did a Spirit of what was that called? Spirit of China? No, that
Spirit of Wonder.
Spirit of Wonder.
Yeah.
Um,
Which
you
I
know,
did a video about if people
right.
want to see what that one's about. I didn't have the full series, but the art in it's beautiful. That's a
Yeah,
really strange book.
and Spirit of Wonder, similar to this, in that there are choices made in the transliteration and the adaptation that you probably wouldn't make today. But I think to the detriment of the translation today, I think this is very effective to have her have this kind of Southern accent.
I feel like there's a way to get the sense of dialect without being so over the top as it is in here. But I'm assuming that the over the top is part of the flavor of the original thing
Right.
too, because it's a comedy and exaggeration's part of that. So to me, it maybe could have been nuanced a little bit more or a little bit less heavy handed, but I wonder if that would have taken away if that would have diminished the comedy too far or not.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I mean, I don't think there's ever a question that she is a character worthy of consideration and, our positive appraisal.
Yeah.
So, so it's not like they're taking shots at her. It's not like the Beverly Hillbillies or something where the joke is she's the joke.
Yeah. No, she's entirely sympathetic and lovable character. Entirely.
We should say she gets her nickname through in her interaction with the people who are there. She becomes Hello because not everyone can pronounce Haruo.
Okay.
Speaking of hello, Carson.
Hello, I'm back. Yes. As
Yeah,
I'm
so
wobbling because my screen is
I hope people will pick that book up and let us know what you think, or if you've read that before, or if you want to really get adventurous and you want to tell us if there's something else that he's done in Japanese that we should check out. Because I mean that is it as far as English. Um, I think every volume of What's Michael came out, eventually, and
you can get a complete hardcover collection of What's Michael now, I think. I looked that up. Yeah. Or there's a 2
wow,
volume or something like that. It's available
okay.
in total now, I believe. And I
But
think it's still from Dark Horse.
I don't know. I'm not aware of anything else. I don't know anything else that he did. And Torrin Smith died many years ago now, and sold his interest before that in Studio Proteus to Dark Horse, and so he didn't really have a champion in English anymore. Um,
Hmm.
I would assume that somebody at Dark Horse would probably be like, "Oh, well, hey, we're still making money on this What's Michael thing. Maybe we should get something else out there by him." But maybe the assumption might just be that cat comics just don't translate, you know, to another genre. Like,
Yeah,
um,
or that the What's Michael is the sellable property and that the other properties are kind of strange, or like I could see Club 9 experiencing a revival of interest as trends come and go. And like this type of book, I think as we get more young girls who have been reading comics because of like Raina Telgemeier, Babysitters Club, that type of stuff, and they're now ready. They're teenagers and they're ready for something a little more sophisticated. Like I could see this having a function in that
yeah,
pipeline to more adult comics. This is kind of like a in between teen appropriate thing, and I would think that Dark Horse could could try and create that. They could try and put that pipeline in place using What's Michael to get the younger kids, and then kind of leveling them up into this as they grow up.
Yeah, you can never tell about that stuff. I think that there's publishing is a fairly conservative industry, and I think something that doesn't resemble an existing trend is always going to
Yeah.
be a little bit suspect. But Torrin Smith, I mean, he was one of those people. He was a real trendsetter. He was a person who moved by his own personal taste. Torrin Smith, went to Japan and lived in Japan and married a Japanese woman and found the things that he personally was interested in and brought those things over.
Yeah.
And it would be hard to overstate how much of the American crossover with the manga market has been influenced by his tastes.
Yeah.
Specifically, people who buy superhero comics and buy some manga. If you think about that as sort of an overlapping audience, people who are our age, especially, it would be hard to overestimate how much he drove a lot of the existing trends by finding hard sci-fi properties, for instance. Like when I heard you talking about that in relationship to European science fiction versus Japanese science fiction,
Yeah.
some of that is just purely like he liked hard sci-fi. He found
Yeah.
hard sci-fi to translate,
Yeah.
Um,
And I'm totally aware that some of it just happens to be like, look, coming out of the European market, heavy metal was the big impactful thing, and that leaned towards space opera and
right.
psychedelic sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Torrin Smith was bringing over hard sci-fi, and that's what got popular. Or even like Akira, which I don't really consider hard sci-fi, still has it happens in Japan. It happens on Earth. It's not in a galaxy far, far away,
You
which is
wouldn't
like,
consider Akira hard science fiction?
uh I mean, to some extent, but it gets a little, it's more spiritual, I think, in the end. Like it has a lot of Buddhism in it. Um and I don't know. I mean, it's grounded, it's here on Earth, but it doesn't seem like it's not like Blade Runner, in that like Blade Runner feels like a legitimate possible future, or close to. Whereas Akira, I don't feel like there's gonna be this psychic entity that conglomerates matter to itself.
Right. Well, that telekinesis isn't real. But uh, if that's your what if, I mean, he's not using too many what ifs in Akira. I know we're really far afield from
No,
Club
no,
Nine now,
it's fine.
but
It's an interesting topic though. But
it,
it's
I,
not like the what if is more, it's a harder buy-in than androids
sure.
or
Okay,
artificial intelligence or
I'll
something
give
like
you
that.
that, but my personal sort of how does this fit and how does this not fit is how many
Yeah.
what ifs are there? Is he using just this main one what if?
Yeah.
To me, like all of Akira can spin out of that particular what if,
Yeah.
and he doesn't add them as his needs as an entertainer grow,
Yeah.
or he
Yeah.
doesn't add them as you go to a new place. He doesn't pile what if upon what if upon what if. And that's the thing to me that makes Akira science fiction, even though it's implausible science fiction based on what we know now about the brain.
Yeah.
Um, I still think I think I would still put it in the like semi rigid.
Well, and I guess at the time it was maybe a little bit more like it was a hard sci-fi question to ponder
Right.
ESP and those kind of
Mm-hmm.
abilities. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. It still feels more grounded to me, even though it doesn't seem possible in the way that like the Matrix or Terminator or something still has that more like, yes, AI could take over. That's coming. Uh, so it's kind of in between. But Jodorowsky, you're talking about one magical thing that he needs.
Right.
It's like he invents a new magical device every 5 pages to propel
Right.
the story forward, and you're like, okay, fuck.
Yeah, and each one of those things could be a science fiction story, but taken together, it's not science fiction. It's like you said, it's space opera.
Yeah, and so that's anyways, the point coming back to whether that be just a taste thing that Torrance Smith brought over, I don't know, because I haven't been exposed to the other stuff, or just my impression of manga and European comics were formed by the you know, the impact, the initial impact of Heavy Metal landing and Studio Proteus that
Right.
has just continued to impact my vision of those two markets, probably unfairly. Yeah, that's accurate.
Um, well, speaking of unfairly impacting your vision,
uh Damn, yeah, that book. Well, you've got another book right there too, both of which will positively impact your vision because they're both gorgeous.
this is Centralia by Emil van de Peet, Exile by Eric Creek. These are the next two Living the Line books. They will be out in English in late January and late February, but there is a pre-sale for Centralia going on right now while you're watching this video via Kickstarter. I hope that you guys will take a look, and you can also pre-order each of these books at your local comic store or your local bookstore. They are quite interesting, and you know, I got a little misty-eyed talking about Torrin Smith there because I think that maybe I, you know, in some small way want to emulate that type of thing where, you know, as a publisher you can find something that is not you appreciate, and just trust that because you appreciate it, you're going to communicate that appreciation to the people. Other people are going to appreciate it as well. And
Yeah,
Club 9 strikes me as the type of book that, like, somebody was probably like, well, damn, darn, it didn't do very well, like, and but I could just tell, like, this is something that he was just like, nope, this guy's a comedic genius, this is the book that he's working on, we are going to put it out, you know. the
yeah,
there's something about it that is reflective of his tastes, and he trusts that other people are going to have the similar kinds of tastes. And you know, in some very, very, very small way, once again, not trying to aggrandize myself by
yeah,
comparing myself to him. Obviously, he's a groundbreaking seminal figure in publishing, but you know, I would like to have that be a similar kind of model for Living the Line, where we put out stuff that we really, really love, things that, you know, have some kind of unique viewpoint and have some kind of unique taste, and that definitely both qualifies, as well as The Strange Death of Alex Raymond, which I know that
yes.
you might have a copy of right here.
Oh, you want me to wave around? Hold on, I'm collecting a stack of stuff people send over, by the way. We'll do a mailbag episode eventually. But Strange Death, also beautiful, extremely idiosyncratic, which
Mhm.
is part of what you're talking about, that in
Yeah.
idiosyncrasy you find a lot of value.
Yeah, well, because when somebody makes something unique, you know, they have brought something new into the world. And you know, sometimes what you want is to do the thing that already exists better than someone has done it before, but sometimes what you want is to make something that's totally different. And that's really intriguing to me when I see cartoonists who are doing something totally different. One of the many qualities that I really admire about both Centralia and the Exile, and one of the only things that they actually share in common, uh, other than being drawn in ink.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's the thing that uh like Torrance Smith was very devoted to like manga, whereas you're just like good. All I care about is like, does this strike me as good? And so I really like that because there's a lot of variety. I mean, you look at the 4 books that we just talked about, and it's
Yeah,
like there's a wild variety there in what you're doing, but there's also like a commitment to quality that I know. Same thing, like if I know I pick up a Torrance Smith book, I know, okay. Or Ryan Holmberg now, I think,
yeah,
is kind of like Torrance Smith, and that he has a particular taste set that you can trust.
right,
And I think that you're smart. I mean, that's what you want out of I want a publisher where I can be like, I don't even know what this book is. I just know I like everything else that they've done, and I don't care whether it's a strange manga or like science fiction from Europe. Like,
right.
I know it's going to be good, and I like creators that are that way too. It's like a creator where I have no idea what they're going to do. Like Chris Ware, I know what he's going to do. Okay, it's going to be great. I'm going to love it. But a creator who's consistently good and different every time is even more exciting to
Right.
me. So
Totally.
yeah. Anyways, so support that, please.
Yeah.
support Sean as a publisher, because
Oh, and while you're at it, support your used bookseller by buying all the copies of Club 9. Let's see if we can make this a Club 9 Volume 1. Let's see if we can make this a $300 Amazon book.
yeah, if it can get to $300 on like eBay, then maybe they'll reprint the like hardcover of the whole run or something. Yeah. Another good use for this channel. Reprint Club 9. All right. Well, thanks so much, Sean, for showing me Kobayashi's work, because What's Michael had kind of been on my radar, but it was like, it's cute cat books. It's like it's on my radar, but super low priority. And this has made his work significantly higher priority. We also need to look at Sigutera. There's a book I'll send you called Sigutera that's similar with the absurd facial expressions, but even more realistic.
All right. I'm excited.
So look forward to that at some point in like 2 years or something. All right. Thanks, everyone. Take it easy.
Thanks. Bye.
Make sure to like, smash that subscribe button, and ring that bell.